Hello everyone, and welcome back to DMG. I just picked up this tiny little Dell from ewaste. This is I believe it's a 13-inch laptop, classified as an ultrabook or a thin and light, probably. This isn't my preferred style of laptop. In fact, let me just get my Dell Precision out and compare. So this is the laptop I use on a daily basis. And then let me just open it up. And then here is this little guy. And the size difference is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, there's a pretty big difference in scale there. So while it's open, we can see this is a Latitude 3150. We have a sticker that says Intel inside, but it doesn't say like i3, i5, i7. I'd be surprised if this had an i7. So that probably means that it has like an Atom or a Pentium or a Celeron or assorted other terrible processors. But with that, there's only one way to find out. So let's open it up and, oh yeah, it's not going to be charged. I believe it just takes the standard Dell charger, so I'm going to plug it in because I have a ton of those lying around. Now on the left side we have charging port, RJ45, HDMI, and USB, maybe USB 3, hopefully. Then on the right side we have USB, SD card reader, and combo headphone and mic, no I/O on the back. We've got these speakers here, probably a 1366 by 768 display. How does this keyboard feel? Ooh, I hear a hard drive. And I feel a hard drive. So probably like a lower end drive, like a Seagate, what are they called? God, why am I blanking? WD Blue, WD Caviar, or Seagate Momentous, that's what they're called. So we've got a little boot logo, Windows 8 or later from that spinning guy. Wow, it loaded straight up. That was a lot faster than I thought. Okay, our CPU is an Intel Celeron 2840 at 2.16 gigahertz. It's doing literally nothing right now and it's sitting at 100 Oh, holy! Okay, look at that uptime. That is 991 days, 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 33 seconds. That's a lot of uptime. Oh wow, we actually have 8 gigs of memory. 8 gigs of DDR3 1600. Only one memory slot, but 8 gigs is more than I would have expected from this CPU. Yeah, we have a WD 2500 LPLX, so that is a WD Blue series hard drive. Could expect probably like 75 megabytes per second sequentials. Let's open a web browser to see just how bad it is. Our hard drive light is, of course, just staying constantly on. Oh, that's so funny. So this probably hasn't been used in a very long time. Probably was like sitting in someone's garage or attic and then got chucked into the e-waste recently, because we've got a message here that Flash Player will be no longer supported after December 2020, which that was a good like 3.5 years ago. I rescind my statement. This is horrible. This is an awful experience. So this Intel Celeron is usually used in Chromebooks, not in like Windows laptops, and this is why. Because it's really, really slow. Alright, time to open up this little Latitude lad. Now, it appears that the back is just this separate panel, and I should just be able to take out these few screws and have it off. I'm expecting the hard disk to be over here, and the RAM to be somewhere near the middle. That's the layout I'm expecting. Battery maybe here or up here. That's pretty typical of these small laptops. Now, when it comes to battery, this laptop does not have an externally removable or replaceable battery. So that means I'm going to have to disconnect it once I get in the laptop. And if you do laptop repair, that is an important thing to not forget, because serious problems could arise if there's still power in the battery if you do something like removing RAM or especially replacing the CPU, which I don't expect you will be able to do on this laptop. Now, the case of this laptop is plastic, but it's rather flexible, durable feeling plastic. Like, it doesn't feel like it will snap in half if I sneeze on it, like some just really awful laptops that I've had the displeasure to work on. So it feels like it's decent construction. Also, I don't see a vent anywhere on this thing, so I don't even expect it to have a fan, because these like Celeron processors like this have, they're extremely low wattage. They only use like up to 15 watts, I think. Oh wow, don't even need a spudger. I can just pop that off with my finger. Oh, okay. So, we have a replaceable RAM slot. This is a lot better than I was expecting. There's a spot for a NVMe here, an NVMe SSD. Yeah, no fan as I was expecting, but here is our hard disk. That is a WD Blue as I was thinking. We have a 38 watt-hour battery, which for something this low power draw should be fine, especially once I replace the hard disk with an SSD, then that will be more than sufficient. Here's our little wireless LAN card. It's a PCIe one, not like a 1/2 mini. So I'm actually really surprised with the upgradability of this little Ultrabook. I'm used to, well, this chassis is used, or at least a similar chassis is used on like Dell's Chromebooks, and those are horrible for repairability. Oh, this is interesting. Where's the battery connector? Okay, it's right here. Also, don't do what I did. Don't disconnect the battery with a metal spudger or a metal device. I don't really like that battery connector. That feels like it could fall out very easily. That's not a coherent sentence. Let me just read this to you. Please disconnect and remove battery before accessing the rest parts and devices. I get what they're going at, but like, that just doesn't make sense. But at least they give you that reminder, even though it's not a good sentence. Oh, I guess to save space, they don't actually give you a SATA connector on the board. It's this weird little cable. And whoa, there's a WD Black. That's a good hard drive. That's really funny. Yeah, that's hilarious. I was not expecting a WD Black in this thing. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. This can't fit anything above like a 7mm drive. This has to have like the thinnest style of hard drives. You can't put anything thick in this little caddy. Now, this is completely overkill, but I'm gonna be replacing it with an Evo, a Samsung 870 Evo, because, yeah, I just want to see if this benefits at all from an SSD. Now, of course, I could pop a cheap NVMe in it, because you can get NVMEs for, you know, just like $20 for a good one. This, of course, can't fit the longest length. I forget what that size is called, but you can fit like a generously sized NVMe in there. Anyway, let's screw this drive in, pop the laptop back together, and then stick Windows 10 on it, see how it handles. Alright, I've used this in class for one full school day, and I'm going to share my thoughts and opinions on it. Now, this is a quite decent little laptop. I mean, I overall like it, but there are some negative things and, features that I would like to see. But I will start with the positive things, the things that really were surprisingly good about this laptop. First is it has insanely good battery life. I was expecting good battery life, but I used it for about 5 hours today, and keep in mind that was mostly 100% CPU usage because it's not very powerful, and it still has 70% battery left, which is really crazy. It wasn't super low screen brightness either. I had it like halfway up on average for most of the day with a bunch of applications open. So it's quite good in the battery department. The screen is clear, it's bright. It's only 1366 by 768, but that's fine on a device this small, because that's only like 11 inches. I don't like 1080p screens because they're really hard to read. That could just be my poor vision, but I feel like a lot of people might share that same opinion. These front-facing speakers are actually surprisingly clear and loud for such a little laptop, so that was nice. And it has some nice features on the keyboard here. Pressing function and print screen is a hardware switch to turn on airplane mode, which is great. A lot of laptops leave that feature out, and I miss it when it is not present. And then this is cool. This is a unique feature that I've never seen before. Function and F4 turns off the microphone. Now, I am just going to assume that does anything at all, because I tested it with Audacity, and in fact, can't get a recording from the microphone. Like, there's no audio from it if you turn that off. But I don't know if that works with like an external microphone you plug into the headphone jack. So those are the nice features with the keyboard, but it does have some things that are lacking. Up here, it does not have any media controls, like play, fast forward, or like next track, previous track. It doesn't have any of those features, and those could have been functions on like any of these keys here. You do have a numpad here, where if you press the function key, you can use this as a numpad, but the keys not being in a straight line, it can be a little clunky to use. I overall like the feel of the keyboard, but it is a little cramped. Not too much of a surprise there on such a small notebook, but the touchpad is my main complaint. It's so big that, it's really easy to accidentally hit when you're typing. And again, I've only been using this for a day, so I'll probably get used to it, but it's, of course, with such a small laptop, I guess that's something not avoidable, because you still want a decently sized touchpad, but just the rest of the case is so small. It's a much higher touchpad to body ratio than I'm used to, I'll just say that. And also, the touchpad is just very clunky, slow, and unresponsive. At times, it feels way too fast, but it also feels way too slow and imprecise. It's just not good. And it's from Synaptics. Synaptics usually makes good touchpads, so I was pretty surprised that this one was bad. And it feels a little sticky, like it's not smooth enough so that your finger really glides across it. It's just an uncomfortable experience. Now, the laptop is slow. It takes like about 30 seconds to boot up off of that SSD, which is honestly not bad. But for it to be usable, it's another like 30 seconds, while Windows loads the start menu, taskbar, your desktop background, all of that stuff. Opening applications isn't too slow, but again, it's like twice as long before they actually become usable. Something that I noticed that was really awful is installing applications and like unzipping files, because today I installed all the applications and drivers, and that was really slow because the CPU is so weak, only 2 cores and 2 threads. Unzipping files, decompressing, takes ages. It takes like 4 times as long as it should, on a competent computer with the same SSD. But of course, installing applications, like big applications, isn't a thing you do super frequently, so not a big issue. You won't want to keep too many web browser tabs open because of course that is a bit taxing, and even simple things like opening a Word document can take, 10 to 15 seconds if you have a bunch of other stuff open. But honestly, it's pleasantly surprised me, and I will continue using it for a few more days to see, to just get more opinions. Another quick thing, now this will actually charge off of the 240 watt charger for my Dell Precision, which is really nice because, I don't need to keep two chargers near my desk. And Dell is generally very good about that. Most of their laptops, and even some of their desktops, use the same exact charger. But I do have one minor complaint here. The battery light is on the other side. So, here on the Precision, you can see the battery charge indicator is right here, and the plug is right here. But the battery indicator on this one is not near the plug, so it just feels a little inconvenient to have to turn it around to the other side to be able to see the charging indicator.
Okay, I've done a little bit more testing with this laptop. It's been 3 days since my last check-in, and I'm going to say there are some minor things that I want to talk about, mostly good. First thing I want to say is the speakers are actually quite nice. They are surprisingly loud, they're very clear and crisp sounding for such small speakers. As a reminder, they're under the hinge here. And for vocals, bass, treble, it all seems very well balanced, and if you don't like the EQ preset that's already in the Dell speaker software, you can change it, which is actually a nice feature. Few laptops have good options for speaker calibration, so I liked that. It also had similar options for microphone noise reduction, that sort of thing. Now, the webcam is actually very, very good for such a small, cheap laptop. It's a nice, clear picture. And on the topic of video, it'll play 1080p 60 videos in browser or download it. I tried like 5 different video sites, like YouTube, Twitch, etc., and just H.264 at a decent bitrate. It'll play back videos smoothly. And you get like 6-ish hours of battery life doing either of those, which is very good. So that's a pleasant surprise. The absence of fan noise when you're watching a video in bed is also a pretty nice thing. Another thing I like about this little thing is the fact that it has Bluetooth, so if I want to listen to some music in class while doing an assignment, it only takes like 30 seconds to whip this thing out of my bag, open Windows Media Player, pull out my headphones, and just listen to some stuff. Now onto the complaints. It's very, very slow. Things like video calls are almost unusable. The mouse touchpad driver, I checked, it uses about 10% CPU, up to that. Sometimes it's as low as 5%. But still, the touchpad driver using that much CPU, well, that's an indication that the CPU is just freaking horrible. Now, there are models of this with a quad-core Pentium, and I would actually recommend this laptop if you get the one with the quad-core Pentium. Those sell for under $50 on eBay, and I feel like it's a really good deal. So I actually recommend, if you're looking for a school laptop, go buy one of these that has the Pentium and 8 gigabytes of RAM, and probably an SSD in it as well. Skip out on the Celeron one, because honestly I'd call it unusable. I have to run this in like low battery mode constantly, or else Windows Defender or Windows Update will run and use about 80% of the CPU, and I'm not kidding here, web pages can take about 30 seconds to load when either of those processes, let alone both of them, are running. So yeah, you can't have anything running in the background. So that said though, I'm going to wrap up my review here. I really think the Latitude 3150 is a great notebook, especially for the prices you can find it at. So if you're buying this for yourself, I highly recommend getting the Pentium model. That's something I never thought I would say, but for a small, efficient school laptop, this is definitely one to consider. That's it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.